Arrow Season 3, Episode 8, The Brave and the Bold. First off, I want to mention that I love the fact that they named this episode The Brave and the Bold. For any of you who may not have seen Batman, The Brave and the Bold, it's a reference to that, or just, kind of Batman in general, I believe. But it was a great second part to our Flash versus Arrow two-part premiere thing. And if you saw my Flash review, I mentioned in that I thought these two episodes were supposed to be the respective mid-season finales for each of these, but I was completely wrong on that. And I'm actually really glad because the one for Flash, I can't wait to see for that one. And the one we're getting next week for Arrow is going to be unbelievably amazing as well. So I'm excited for both mid-season finales. And, these two episodes this week is really just like cool episodes that we got. And this one was definitely great, just like the Flash one was. And that was more of the true Flash versus Arrow. Like even the title of that episode was Flash versus the Arrow, and this was really them just teaming up, and they kind of spar towards the end of the episode, which we don't really get to see, which I'm okay with. But I really loved it. I think one of my favorite parts is the fact that when we were watching Flash, it was Flash. It was like, all right, everything's nice and silly, a billion jokes, nice and sunny, which they even reference in Arrows. Like you come from a place where it's sunny all the time, and that's kind of what they do with Flash. It's just like daytime, and of course we see the city at night. But typically, it's nice, it's sunny. When it's nighttime, it's really just Barry running through a bunch of cars and stuff, and running into the villain, and then he beats the villain, and then it's over. And with Arrow, it was like a complete 180, especially for me, because it was like I went straight from watching the Flash episode to the Arrow episode since I was a day behind. So it was really cool watching it, and we get to Arrow, and it's the complete opposite. Like I said, it's 180. It's like you go from nice, sunny, and funny, silly jokes all the time to instead of mostly jokes, it's mostly serious. So it really went from like the Flash verse to the Arrow verse, and technically it's the same universe, but it feels so different. And I really loved the way they did that. It was really well done. It stuck true to each series without being like, all right, let's do like the really cool team up thing and then just blend both together for 2 straight hours. It was like, nope, here's Flash, the team up with Arrow going into Flash, and here's the team up with Flash going into Arrow, and they both felt completely different, and that was really great. It was like Arrow was just dark and gray, and like my mom died, my best friend died, all these people keep dying, and it was just dramatic, and it was really, really well done. I loved it. We got some really good stuff, mixed in. It was like we had moments of both tension and comedy with the Flash team, or most of the Flash team, coming to Arrow and coming over to Starling City, and it was just really well done. I loved it. I thought it was great. It was really funny. We had some serious moments, especially the stuff with Barry and Oliver, where Barry isn't used to the torture and stuff that Oliver is, and it was just really great to see that. And Barry was, telling Oliver like you don't really have to worry about losing yourself, because that's what Oliver feels like is his issue, is that every time he's the Arrow, he's losing more of Oliver Queen, and it was really cool. I enjoyed that. It was something that I feel like they don't really touch on because everyone's used to it. Like we're used to it as fans. Everyone in Team Arrow is used to it as a part of Team Arrow. It's like, yeah, that's what he does. He used to kill people, so him being this is kind of like rainbows and daisies. So with Barry coming in, it's a bit of a jarring experience for him because even though he's not like watching him kill anyone, it's still him interrogating people and torturing them. And especially in this episode, Oliver kind of got played by the villain, so it was really well done. I enjoyed the way they played it up because we typically don't get that with Arrow, so it was really cool. And Barry was telling them like, hey, you don't have to worry about losing yourself, because the fact that you have a problem with this shows that you still have humanity. That's why you're such a good person, is because of the humanity that you have. It's not that you're losing it, it's that you have it, that this is an issue, and that's actually a good thing, and it really is. So I enjoyed that, and it was a great parallel between the flashbacks and the present, which didn't tie in too much until really towards the very end. Like it had a little bit of stuff with the interrogation, and it was like, okay, well, it just showed like he went from this sort of weak person, and we saw him like shoot the arrow and the guy like twisted and stuff, and then we went to the flashback where he didn't really have that experience, and it was like, okay, this is where he came from as far as learning how to interrogate people and having that process build up in his head, where the guy even says like for someone with a conscience, it's much easier to just kill other people who are your enemies than it is to just have a guy, tied up in a chair and then stab him in the leg or do all sorts of crazy stuff to get info out of him. So that was really cool, and we saw that small build and how he failed his very first time, and the bombs blew up, and it had a perfect tie-in with the end of the episode where Oliver didn't really have anything to do. He was there with Captain Boomerang, and there was not much else that he could do. It was like he wants to take this guy out, but that's not what he does anymore, and he can't exactly interrogate him because the guy used to be a part of the Suicide Squad, so Pain wouldn't exactly work. So it was a great tie-in there, and that was another thing I loved about the episode was the solution and how everyone was really a part of stopping these bombs because it had to be 5 people at once, and it wasn't just Barry being in one place or Barry and someone else. It was like everyone had their own thing happening. Like they all had to work together to stop every single bomb at the same time. So I really love that because typically it's like, okay, we have like Felicity and Caitlin or Felicity and Cisco or 2 other people, but this was like everyone at one time had to work together, and it just worked out well. And of course it did because otherwise everyone would be dead. But it was really well done. I enjoyed that. We got to see everyone have a part to play in this final little act before things kind of almost went bad. So I enjoyed that. That was really good. We had some really great moments with the characters. I think one of my favorite moments, well, definitely one of my favorite moments, is when they're sitting at the bar and they're all drinking and stuff, and Caitlin and Cisco kind of have this revelation where it's like we kind of were in this state of mind where things weren't as bad as they seemed because people have superpowers. So even though we know they have superpowers, we're on Team Flash, we work with Barry, and he is still a human being with superpowers. For us, it's just like we're living in this fantasy where it's like, oh, we're just stopping supervillains, but they come to Starling City, and it's like these people are villains, but they aren't supervillains. They're just bad people that kill other people, and it made them realize like we kind of took a portion of real life out of the situation that we were in because people could control weather or people could look at someone and make them angry, or we work with a guy who has super speed and does all this crazy stuff. So that was a good moment. It kind of grounded them, like we don't look at things like we probably should because it was a bit more fantastic in the sense, like the actual sense of fantastic, like it's just unbelievable. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very cool. It was a very down to earth moment for them. It was kind of depressing a little because they're the silly upbeat people, but it was really well done. I love that where they got that real taste of it. Like sometimes bad people don't have superpowers. They just have skills that make them bad people, and that was a really good scene. Another really great scene, and we had a lot of these little moments with characters who typically don't interact. And I think as much as I love the Flash one, I think I liked the Arrow team up episode more just because it was a bit more dramatic, and I always tend to like more dramatic stuff compared to comedy stuff if it's done well, especially in like comic book worlds compared to just like real life drama, which is we all got that, so we don't need that. But comic book drama tends to be a bit more interesting, like the stuff with Cisco and Caitlin kind of realizing how serious things are. But we had a great little moment with Oliver and Lila in this episode, which I can't even think of a time where they really had like a scene where they literally just talked, and that was it. Like Diggle wasn't even remotely involved in that scene, because that's typically how it is. It's like if Lila's there, then it's Diggle. But we had a moment where they kind of connected over their training from Amanda Waller, and we even hear the quote from her by the end of the episode where it's like certain people just work in extremes, and it's naive to think that nothing outside of extreme measures will stop these people. And it was just a really cool moment. Like you could see how they kind of understood each other mentally, and they even talked about it. Like sometimes they just don't understand how certain people act, and they do know that because Lila trained with Argus, and so did Oliver. And before that, of course, he's on the island, and so they've dealt with all this crazy stuff, and they've seen people, doing all sorts of crazy, terrorist-based activities, like blowing up cities, killing hundreds upon hundreds of people. So they have this very different mentality, and even Diggle, who, is in the army, is just not the same mentality as people who, have dealt with like people who, kill hundreds and hundreds of people, but they do it in very different ways. It's not just like we're in the army and then we go and try to take over this place and we kill a bunch of innocent people. It's like the worst people, you don't even realize they're bad. It's kind of that type of aspect to it. So I love that scene with them sort of having a bonding moment. And it was really short, but like I said, I thought it was really well done. And we had another good moment with Cisco when he was with Diggle and Roy when they were in the car. And I love that moment. It was both funny, but then it got really serious after that, where he kind of takes the lesson he learned when they were at Verdant and they realized how serious things could be. And he mentions like maybe people got these superpowers so that we could deal with the craziness, because you people aren't really accustomed to dealing with normal human beings who have these skills and who have like these brains that'll say like, I want to kill this person to take this thing. So when you add that element of superpowers to it, it allows you to look at it in a much better light, because it's just like, oh, it's a TV type of thing, and you don't really realize what you're living when you're actually living it. So I think that's kind of how he took it in. Like maybe that's why people got these powers. It's so that we could all deal with the craziness, not just have people get superpowers, but we as normal humans, I guess, could still deal with the issues that come up in everyday life, and we won't be so taken aback. But I love the episode. I thought it was really well done. Captain Boomerang was a pretty cool villain. He was like destroying people at Argus. It was just like, man, someone please shoot this guy in the beginning. But he was a good villain. I really loved it. The team up was good. Like I said, very dramatic. Lots of really great stuff. And like it was just a great team up episode, like just like the Flash one was. Very well done. It had its funny moments because of course we have Flash and everyone coming in, so the comedy aspect was like multiplied times four in this one. It wasn't just Felicity being funny, but it was a really great episode. Great action, great comedy, great dramatic moments between both Barry and Oliver. Great cool team up at the end. I think my favorite part was when Barry took out all the people from the train station, and then it was just like Barry standing next to Oliver, and he was holding the bow and arrow, and they just had like a cool little pose. I love that scene. We had a really tiny reference when I guess Captain Lance now he called Barry Bart Allen. That was a great reference to, of course, Bart Allen's like the oldest Flash. So that was really cool. I can't wait for the mid-season finale for, like I said, for both these shows. We get to see Ra's al Ghul, so that's gonna be great. We're gonna get Professor Zoom or Reverse Flash, whatever they're gonna call him, is the same thing, I guess. For Flash. So I'm really excited for both of those next week. This was a great episode. Of course, comment below. Let me know what you guys thought about it, though. Your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys thought was the better team up episode. Was it Arrow versus Flash, which you can't deny was a really great action episode, especially with Barry versus Oliver. That was really cool. Or did you guys enjoy this one? Because as much as I love that fight, I still, sometimes stories just more entertaining. And I think, like I said, those moments where we got the Flash team very serious, like the Arrow team, I think was very interesting. Because we had the exact same thing in Flash where everyone had their silly moments. Even Diggle, in the Flash episode, he had the moment where he was like freaking out when he saw Barry. But I still enjoyed the Arrow stuff, even though it wasn't like the super fan service episode like the Flash episode was. I still enjoyed it more because it had those real dramatic story elements to it, and it was just overall really well grounded, and I just loved it. I thought it was very cool to see the characters have these realizations and talk it out with people that they typically wouldn't talk it out with. So that's what I thought. But of course, I want to know what you guys thought. So comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.